Good morning, everyone. Myself, Jwala Chaurasia. Today, my team are going to represent a presentation on primitive and non-primitive and scheduling algorithm. Let's get into our slide. Next slide. Our group members' name are Ashutosh Chaudhary, Shivam Kumar Chaurasia, Hardik Chemburkar, Jwala Chaurasia, and Rohit Gupta. Let's start with our slide. So let's get into that point. What is an preemptive scheduling? Preemptive scheduling is a scheduling method where the tasks are mostly assigned with their priorities. Sometimes it is important to run a task with a higher priority before another lower priority task. Even if the lower priority task is still running, at that time, the lower priority task holds for some time and resumes when the higher priority task finishes its execution. Now let's see what is a non-preemptive scheduling. Non-preemptive scheduling is used when a process terminates or a process switches from running to the waiting state. In this scheduling, once the resources CPU cycles are allocated to a process, the process holds the CPU till it gets terminated or reaches a waiting state. In the case of non-preemptive scheduling, does not interrupt a process running CPU in the middle of the execution. Instead, it waits till the process completes its CPU burst time, and then it can allocate the CPU to another process. Now let's see the difference between preemptive scheduling and non-preemptive scheduling. First point, it allows to be interrupted in between a running or execution of a process. Second point for non-preemptive scheduling is no interruptions can be made while a process is running or being executed. A second point for preemptive scheduling, CPU utilization is more efficient, but CPU is not used up to the par for non-preemptive scheduling. Waiting and response time of preemptive scheduling is less, but waiting and response time of the non-preemptive scheduling method is higher. Preemptive scheduling is flexible, but non-preemptive scheduling is rigid. Now let's see what are the types of scheduling algorithm which are gonna be covered in this video. First one is FCFS, that is first come first serve. Second is SJF, shortest job first. Third is round robin, and the fourth is priority based. From this, my friend Hardik is gonna continue this slide.
Hello everyone, myself Hardik Chemburkar. I'm going to explain what is FCFS. FCFS is basically an algorithm of operating system which automatically executes operations queued in the order of arrival, which means the first operation that will come for processing will be given the processing first. Let's take it with an example. For example, Jwala, Rohit, Shivam and Ashutosh are standing in a queue for taking movie tickets. So at that time, first Jwala arrives, then Rohit comes, and then Shivam, and lastly Ashutosh. So the one that came first, that is Jwala, he gets the ticket first as he is standing in a queue. Similarly, FCFS is like uh, the first process that comes for the first process that comes for getting into the ready queue is given the execution power first, and this is not based on the priority basis. Like for example, if a priority is higher or lower, it won't matter. Just what matters is when you are arriving, when the process arrives. So let's move on to the next part, the characteristics of FCFS. So the FCFS scheduling helps us in programming a very easy algorithm. It is the easiest algorithm that anyone can make. It is very easy to understand, and it is the simplest form of a CPU scheduling algorithm. Now let's move on to the disadvantage part. So the disadvantage that we can see in FCFS is that the process with less execution time suffers more. That is, the starvation time is counted more for the process that comes later on. It favors CPU bound processes than input output bound processes. The results is more average. The results in more average waiting time. This effects results in lower CPU and device utilization. It is sometimes troublesome for time sharing systems. Now let's take an basics terminology that we used in FCFS scheduling algorithm. or any other algorithm that is required for calculations. Firstly, arrival time. Arrival time that can be said as the time at which the process comes. Second, the burst time. Burst time is the time at which the process is getting into the ready queue, is going to be executed. Third, the completion time. The completion time can be said as the time at which a process is completed and exited. Fourth, the turnaround time. Turnaround time means the total time required for a process to execute. And lastly, the waiting time. Waiting time can be said like when the process arrives and at the end when it exits. The time in which it was idle can be said as the waiting time. So without any ado, let's get into the calculation part. So here the example is, for example, there are four processes P0, P1, P2 and P3. They have arrived at 0, 1, 2, 3 intervals, and the burst time of each process respectively are 6, 8, 10 and 12. So on basis of the Gantt chart, we can structure these processes. Here the process the process 0 came at time 0 and it was executed till 6 seconds. That is, it was the burst time. Then P1 came at the same time and it was executed till the 14 seconds, as the burst time has been added from the previous one. The P2 process starts from 14 seconds and ends up to 24 seconds. Similarly, the last process, that is process 3, starts from 24 seconds and ends at 36 seconds. So let's check the burst time, completion time and turnaround time. So checking the turn for what do you say, the formula for calculating the turnaround time is equal to the completion time minus the arrival time. So the completion time for each process can be seen on basis of the Gantt chart. Here we can see P0 is completed at 6 seconds, P1 is completed at 14 seconds, P2 is completed at 24 and P3 at 36. So on basis of the Gantt chart, we came to know the completion time 6, 14, 24 and 36. Now calculating the turnaround time with the help of the TAT formula, that is 6, we will subtract the turnaround time with the completion time with arrival time, that is 6 minus 4, and which will get 6. 14 minus 1, 13. 24 minus 2, that is 22. 36 minus 3, that is 33. So similarly, we'll put the values in the table. And now calculating the waiting time. The waiting time can be calculated turnaround time minus the the burst time. That is 6 seconds minus 6, that we get 0. 13 minus 8, that is 5. 22 minus 10, which is equals to 12. 33 minus 12, which is equal to 21. So for calculating the average waiting time, what we'll do is sum up the whole waiting time table, that is 0 plus 5 plus 12 plus 21, and divided by number of processes. So that is, we have here divided it by 4. So the summation makes us 34 by 4, and which gives us 9.5 units. The average turnaround time will be calculated similarly, just summing up the total turnaround time divided by 4 processes, and we'll get the final answer as 18.5. From now on, Rohit Gupta will be taking on. Over to you, Rohit.
Thanks, Hardik. Myself, Rohit Gupta, and I'll be talking about SJF, that is shortest job first scheduling algorithm. It is also known as shortest job next. In this scheduling policy, that we select the waiting process with the smallest execution time to execute next. And it's a non-preemptive algorithm. Now let us look about what are the characteristics of it. Firstly, it is associated with each job as a unit of time to complete. The algorithm method is helpful for batch type processing, where generally waiting for job is complete is not jobs to complete is not critical. It improves job output by effecting shorter jobs which schedule be executed first, which mostly have a shorter turnaround time as well. It can improve process throughput by making sure that shortest jobs are executed first. So let's take an example. Here we have 5 processes with their burst time and arrival time given. As we can see, there are different burst times and also an arrival time. So as it's shortest job first, it will be focusing on burst time to complete. But at time 0, there is only one process in a ready queue, that is P4 with burst time of 3 units of time. So first that will be executed. We can see in Gantt chart the till 0 to 3, it's P4 that is completed. By the time of 3, 2 more processes are in ready queue, that are P3 and P1. Now the question is, which will be executed first? As we know, it is shortest job first. It will be comparing the burst time of both. Since P1 has the less burst time, that is 6, which is smaller than 8, that is for P3. So P1 will be executed first for 6 units of time. Now the Gantt chart is completed till 9 units of time. As we can see, all the arrival times are under 9. That is, all the processes are in ready queue now. So again, the question is, which will be executing in order. So the algorithm says that the the order of burst time will be seen to for calculation. Shortest the burst time, it will be executed first. So next one is P2, that is with burst time of 2 units of time. It will be executed later on P5, and at the end P3 with burst time of 8, which is the largest among. So we can see Gantt chart, and according with the help of Gantt chart, we can complete the table of completion time, that are 9, 11, 23, 3, and 13. It's 20, it's 15 for P5. So now let us calculate turnaround time, for which the formula, as Hardik discussed it, CT minus AT. So by calculating it, we get 7, 6, 22, 3, 11 respectively for P1, P2, P3, P4, and P5. And same goes for waiting time. By formula TAT minus BT, we'll be getting 1, 4, 14, 0, and 7 as waiting time. Now we can easily calculate the average times by adding all and dividing it by 5. So we have seen an example. Now let us talk about what are the advantages of SJF. First, SJF is frequently used for long-term scheduling. Second, the SJF method gives the lowest average waiting time for a specific set of processes. It also reduces the average waiting time over FAFO, that is first in first out algorithm. It is appropriate for the jobs running in batch, as I already discussed, where run times are known in advance. So now, what are the disadvantages of SJF? Job completion time must be known earlier, but it is hard to predict. It is often used in a batch system for a long-term scheduling. This algorithm may cause very long turnaround times or starvation, as it is completely depending on the job's timing.
Okay, thanks Rohit. Myself Shivam. So now let's see what is round robin. Basically, round robin is a CPU scheduling algorithm where each process is assigned a fixed time or quantum time in a cyclic way. So what are the characteristics of round robin? First is it is simple, easy to implement, and starvation free, as all processes get a fair chance to run. Second is it is one of the most commonly used technique in CPU scheduling. Then third is it is preemptive, as processes are assigned CPU only for a fixed slice of time at most. Now let's see the example. So here let's take an example. Here there are 5 processes given, that is P1, P2, P3, P4, P5, and the quantum time is 2 units. And as here the arrival time of all processes is 0, so we will use FCFS, that is first come first serve. So P1 will enter first, as it was run, P1 came first. So P1 will run for 2 seconds, as the quantum time is 2. So 5 minus 2 will be 3. So as 3 is remaining, 3 seconds are remaining for P1 to run. So P1 will enter the ready queue. Now P2 will enter, and as the burst time of P2 is 3, so 3 minus 2 will become 1. As P2 remains 1 second to run, so it will also enter the ready queue, and then P3 will enter. As the burst time of P3 is P1 and 1 is less than 2, so P3 will run only for 1 second, and then P1 will enter from ready queue. So 3 minus 2 will be 1. So 1 second is remaining for P1, so it will again enter the ready queue, and then P4 will enter. As the burst time for P4 is 2, so 2 minus 2 will be is 0. So P4 will get terminated after this, and then P5 will enter. So burst time of P5 is 3. So 3 minus 2 is 1. So P5 will enter the ready state, and then P2 will enter. And for process 2, only 1 second was remaining. So it will run for 1 second and get terminated. And same for P1 and P5. From the help of Gantt chart, we'll get the completion time, that is 13, 12, 5, 9 and 14. And through completion time we can calculate turnaround time, which is completion time minus arrival time. So arrival time of all processes are 0. So TAT will be 13, 12, 5, 9 and 14. And then we need to calculate the waiting time. So the formula for calculating the waiting time is turnaround time minus the burst time. So for the first process, turnaround time is 13 and burst time is 5. So 13 minus 5 is 8. And for second, 12 minus 3 is 9. And for third, 5 minus 1 is 4. And for fourth, 9 minus 2 is 7. And for fifth, 14 minus 3 is 11. So here we'll calculate the turnaround time and waiting time with the help of round robin. So now let's see some advantages of round robin. First is there is a fairness since every process gets equal share of CPU due to the quantum time. And second is each process gets a equal chances to reschedule after a particular quantum time, which is the process enters the ready state. And third is the robin scheduler generally employs time sharing, giving each job a time slot or a quantum, which helps the process to get equal chances to run. And the last is while performing a round robin scheduling, a particular time quantum is allotted to different jobs. Now let's see some disadvantages of round robin. First is there is a large waiting time and response time. Second is time consuming scheduling for small quantum numbers. Like if P1 is burst time is 100 and the quantum time is 1, so P1 needs to run like 100 times, which is large. And then is the Gantt chart seems to come too big if quantum time is less for big scheduling. Okay, now further will be continued by Ashutosh.
Yes, thank you, Shivam. Hello, everyone. This is Ashutosh Chaudhary, and I am going to explain priority scheduling. Priority scheduling is a non-primitive algorithm and one of the most common scheduling algorithms in batch system. Each process is assigned a priority. Process with highest priority is to be executed first, and so on. Processes with the same priority are executed on first come and first service basis. Priority can be decided based on memory requirements, time requirements, or any other resource requirements. Now, let's see some characteristics of priority. A CPU algorithm that schedules process is based on priority. It is used in operating system for performing batch processes. Lower the number, higher will be the priority. If two jobs having the same priority are ready, it works on first come first serve basis, which we will see in example. In this type of scheduling algorithm, if a newer process arrives that is having a higher priority than the currently running process, then the currently running process is preempted. Now, let's take an example. As you can see, there are five processes, P1, P2, P3, and 4 processes, P1, P2, P3, and P4. Let's have a focus on the priority. Priorities are 2, 1, 4, and 3, respectively. So the lowest priority is 1. So it will come first. Then the P1, which is 2, then P4, which is 3, and then 4, as you can see in Gantt chart. Now let's calculate turnaround time. The formula for turnaround time is turnaround time is equals to completion time minus arrival time, which is 24, 3, 32, 26 respectively. We, now waiting time. Waiting time is equals to turnaround time minus burst time, which is 3, 0, 26, 24 respectively. Now let's see some advantages. Priority scheduling is simple to understand. Priorities in the priority scheduling are chosen on the basis of time requirement, memory requirement, and user preferences. Based on priority, processes are executed. So the process which has the highest priority does not need to wait for more time, like we see in the example. Priority scheduling is a user-friendly algorithm. Now, let's see some disadvantages. When the multiple processes have the same priorities, then we have to apply another scheduling algorithm, which is first come and first service. Another disadvantage of priority scheduling is starvation. In priority scheduling, if the system is crashed, then the low priority process that are not yet completed will also get lost. And that is a big disadvantage. Thank you so much for patiently listening to our presentation. I hope you all liked it. Thank you so much.